So I just discovered this beef between Gen Z and millennials that's happening online. And while some of it is pretty funny, for instance, I guess us millennials are accused of making really cringy facial expressions. The comments, people keep repeatedly saying they blame it on Jim Carrey. I'm also going to say I blame Kevin from Home Alone. Yeah, and we also make faces when we dance, okay? So I'm not going to dispute any of that. But I did want to just throw in my 2 cents as a first-gen academic. I think one of the reasons why I could not see the perspectives on a personal level from both Gen Z and millennials who were firing shots at one another is because I spent so much of my life in a school setting. And because I didn't have anyone in my family to turn to for advice, this meant that I really had to rely on finding professors and mentors in these institutions who are often older than me. They provided a lot of advice, guidance, and support. As well, they were at phases in their career that I found to be very impressive. They were masters at their craft. They published highly respected, ethnographies and other studies. So they were not really my target to criticize. I don't think I ever found them to be cringe simply for being a part of a different generation. And in fact, I think that's where a lot of my respect for them came from. That's not to say that everything was perfect and that my entire time, as for instance, as a grad student, didn't have any hiccups that were definitely rooted in, for instance, entering a job market that was much, much different from a lot of the very established professors in our department, because our realities were different from their own experiences, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles. And over time, when we voiced our concerns, they did take the steps to address them and to, for instance, bring in people who had done PhDs but pursued non-academic careers just to show us what was possible. And maybe a lot of this comes from the fact that I'm also the child of immigrants, and of course there can be a lot of friction in between generations in terms of our politics and our values, but I was always raised to respect your elders. And sure, there's a part that is wrapped up in patriarchy, but what I'm talking about is respecting the wisdom that they have and acknowledging ancestral wisdom. And maybe that's why this entire debate caught me off guard, because most of my social media spaces are filled with people who share that worldview. I think the other side of this is that as a professor, I deal with Gen Z on an everyday basis, and I just haven't encountered a lot of these behaviors that people are talking about. Maybe the Gen Z stare, but I really just attest that to having a super early morning class, because my students in my afternoon classes tend to be way more talkative. As well, I've been long accused of having RBF, so whatever. So anyway, that's just my 2 cents on the matter. I would love to hear what you think about this, and drop your comments below.